But you should do that again, Susan.
I
Repeat.
nominate Dave to be Chair Pro Tem.
Second.
You don't know what you're in for here.
Rule with an iron fist, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so is there a vote?
Yeah, there should be a vote.
All those in favor of making Dave the Chair Pro Tem, say aye.
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 I'm not going to listen to any no's, so we're good to go.
Okay, well, I have the agenda in front of me, so the roll call of people who are here. Travis is not, Garth is not, Tom is. I guess I have to ask for your aye.
Here.
Okay, Wisty,
Here.
John is absent. Susan,
Here.
Yanni,
Here.
Donna,
Here.
and I am. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people who are here. Okay. So we have the minutes of March 23rd that had been distributed previously. So have all had a chance to see that. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
is there a second? Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes of March 23rd?
Aye.
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 Oh,
Aye.
we're missing a scribe, aren't we? We don't have a note taker, do we? We have.
No, but it's being recorded.
Yeah, I can do some. This will be a short meeting. I can do the minutes after I
Okay.
right after I log out.
Thank you so much. I am
Thank
done.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christian.
Yep.
Okay, so in terms of the CPC fiscal 24 budget, that is up for discussion. Shall we? Is there a motion? Where'd everybody go? Oh, okay.
I'm sharing the screen with the budget.
Okay.
So I'll do a brief presentation first,
Good.
if that'd be okay, Mr.
All right,
Chairman.
thank you. Yeah.
So we have 3 different documents that'll be part of the budget packet that gets sent to City Council. The easiest one and the most important one to understand is just the general budget breakdown. So from our accounting department, they have predicted a local surcharge revenue for FY24 of $230,000. We are using a state match of 15%, which is lower than the actual amount last year, which was 38.51%. It's also lower than our estimate that we used last year, which is 25%. And the reason for that is because currently DOR has not issued an estimate for community preservation committees to use, because currently there is some pretty significant fluctuations in the amount of revenue that's being collected at the registries of deeds. So at the moment we're using 15%, which is a very safe number. It will definitely be above 15%. But for the purposes of a budget, for CPC budgets, you definitely want to be under what you actually will collect in the end. So we have a state match of $34,500 for a total FY24 budget amount of $264,500. And then that will be split out just like the previous couple of years, with 5% going to the administrative costs. That's the max amount, as well as 10% reserved for each of the 3 categories: open space, historic resources, and community housing. Again, that's the minimum required. And then the rest will be put into the budgeted reserves, which is just the CPC's flexible fund. So pretty straightforward, almost exactly the same as last year, just slightly different numbers.
I motion to accept the budget as presented.
Okay, there's
Second.
a motion to accept the budget as presented. Susan, was that you seconding?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have a question. There was
Sure.
some money left over from the past year. Is that correct? The money that we did not allocate with the $335,000. But
Correct. So there was the amount from FY22 and the FY23, which is what we are working off of for our most recent project appropriations. We'll be spending through all the FY22 money and digging into a little bit of FY23. That money's already been pretty much, so any money you didn't spend has already been reserved by last year's budget. So it'll just stay in the reserve, just like this money. If you don't spend it, will eventually be put in the reserve.
So in terms of a bottom line balance, that we have the 264 plus whatever that other number was, right? In terms of a bank account as such.
Correct, and we'll know the actual number later in the year, sometime after July, when all the actual surcharge collections, local collections, have been actually officially tabulated, and then they'll kind of close it out, and we'll have the actual number.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
Was the one question I had.
You had a question, Susan?
No, that was the question I had.
That was the question you had?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, seeing no more need to discuss, I guess we'll call for a vote and probably a roll call vote again.
What are we voting?
Susan motioned to, or no, Donna motioned to accept the budget as
I'm
presented.
sorry, I'm sorry, thank you.
Okay. Okay, we ready to vote? Okay, so voting on that that budget, we have Tom,
Yes.
Wisty,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Giannis,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
and I would vote yes. Okay, so we got the big guy out of the way here. All right, the next item on the agenda is 2022-23 project updates. Christian, would that be you?
Yes, so yeah, the projects you all recently approved are making their way through the city council process. Still, the most recent update is that they did the first reading for the projects at the most recent city council meeting, which will mean they will be voted on at the next council meeting in May. So there had been discussion potentially about Travis attending those meetings. He's previously offered to the city council that he can be there to answer any questions. But for the most part, we're nearing the end of the approval process.
Excellent, thank you.
And then, yep, and there is one specific update about one of the projects. The Beacon Park bocce courts, there was the condition to make sure that it was under the control of either the Recreation Department or the Recreation Commission, and that one has pretty much been resolved. The original deed from 1923, or the land transfer, was eventually found, and it was with the condition that it was recreation land. So for pretty much all intents and purposes, that's resolved. I think there might be a memo from the mayor's office that just clarifies that yes, this is under control of the Recreation Commission, because back then the commission that was under the control was like Parkland Commissioners, which isn't exactly the same name, but I'm sure at some point that's now the Recreation Commission. So there's a little bit more to clarify, but for the most part, that condition that all of you requested has been resolved.
Been a fair amount of discussion about the bocce courts versus the school budget and so forth, back and forth. So kind of interesting. So.
Not that one can impact the other, however.
Yeah, I know. Right. So, okay. Thank you, Christian. Any more discussion about the projects that we've dealt with?
Wait, I do have a question. Christian, when will it be coming up before the council? Will it be the May meeting or the June meeting?
The May meeting, I
May
believe.
meeting. Okay.
That's the second reading you're talking about, not the budget, correct?
No,
Right.
yeah. The budget should be at the June meeting, because we missed the deadline for it to be in by May, which is
Right.
okay. Last year it was approved in June as well.
Okay, so it's the May meeting for so we should be there for the main meeting, or at least Travis should be there. Someone should be there for the May meeting to
Yeah,
talk.
that's kind of what you all have discussed before.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I have a question
Mhm.
for you, Christian. The budget, does that go before Ways and Means before it gets to the council?
I believe so. Last year, it was pretty much the exact same timeline. We submitted it at the end of April after the deadline for May, and I think it can go through the entire process in 1 month. So I believe we're pretty much on the same timeline as last year.
Should we have someone at that Ways and Means committee meeting?
For the budget, I don't think so. Because generally, the finance director, Diana Schindler, has been at the Ways and Means committee meetings recently, or pretty much all the time. And she's very familiar with those numbers as well. So her being there, I think, is probably sufficient. She was there recently because I guess I'll tell you guys this as well. Way back for the FY22 budget, the previous finance director believed it was sufficient just to do that internally in the finance department. The new finance director wanted it submitted to city council. So if you had looked at any city council agendas recently, you saw CPC FY22 budget. That was just them doing the reserves, just like what we're doing right now. They wanted that officially on the record. So, and Diana guided that through that process perfectly fine. So I think she'll be okay with this budget.
Okay. And there's nothing controversial anyway, right?
Nope. Yeah, this is
Look at it, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, like CPCs can sometimes have their projects along with their budget, but the CPCs that keep them separate, like we're doing right now, what we're doing is just 10%, 10%, 10%. That's completely expected, and then the 5% to the administrative, if that doesn't get spent, it just goes back into the flexible part. So
okay, I guess we can move on to evaluating the application review process for the next year. I don't know if that's a big discussion or a little discussion, but does anyone? There's no motion to be had, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I just put that on the agenda. I think kind of the idea was for all of you kind of to discuss how you want to gather the feedback on any feedback any of you might have, and then I can put it together for the May meeting, and then you can actually have a proper discussion at the May meeting, your May meeting.
Might I suggest, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have the chair at that meeting because he created some of the spreadsheets. He did some work behind the scenes too, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, and I think Travis will be at the
Yeah,
at the May meeting.
I'd like to defer this discussion so we have a fuller board.
Well, except I think just process like I would like us to look at different parts of it. Like I would really like us to look at our forms. And I think just having used the forms, we'll all have suggestions on things to add and subtract and wording and all that. So I think we should very specifically go through those forms and make suggestions. And then there's also our process, like of, how we invited people in, or, those kinds of things. And I think that all that's part of the package.
Yeah, I would like to even go back to when we did our original outreach and all of that, because the process did not start when we started filling out forms. The process really started when we tried to engage community folks in it. And what we found worked and what we found that didn't work, or the ways that it didn't work or work, and just take a look at that. Because I think that we're starting again. And it'll be an easier process because we won't have to totally start from scratch, but we are starting again, and we need to kind of look at that and look at a schedule, that to set it up for this coming fiscal year.
Yeah, and I would even, and I guess I'm asking all of you what you think of this. I would like to have some kind of discussion, like if it's even appropriate, or if we would desire to have some consideration about some little projects, like, you know, I remember us saying, let's fund some that we can get done and you know, so that some people come in more with some smaller projects too, so that everybody doesn't think they're just big things, you know, and whether or not we want to do that kind of stuff. I don't know how you feel.
I guess I'm confused because there were some smaller projects.
There were a few, yeah. What?
Donna, you want to say something?
I'm hearing threads of a number of conversations here, and I think that it's important that we, in order to be prepared and efficient about it, we sort of break them up. Like, one of the things that I was thinking about was like, what was it that we asked that we didn't ask that we should have asked, or what had we asked, you know? So that's one thing. That's like the whole application process and looking at the questions that we asked. Then we also have our evaluation project and process and evaluating that. Then I'm also hearing the outreach piece. So I think that this is a good conversation to have as we sort of look at the chunks of things we want to look at, so that we can therefore have those in buckets and, you know, be able to tackle them without getting the buckets mixed up.
Right. I agree.
So what I'm hearing is, first of all, we should defer any further conversation about this, as Tom has suggested, until the next meeting. And then we should break out that discussion. We should break out the discussion at the next meeting to look at what Christian is doing already. So, right. Okay. So,
yeah. So I'm thinking if you guys create a list of the different parts you'd like to talk about, then anyone so you all can email me your feedback on those parts, but your feedback should be broken out by the different pieces, and then I can combine all the different pieces together.
Right. Does anyone have any that they want to throw at this list right now?
The outreach piece is
say again.
And the schedule, that was the schedule that we had. Did that work? Do we need to change that?
Okay. And anything else while the subject is forefront of our minds?
The process that we use to decide on which projects to fund. Oh, was that committee review?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. Good. Okay, and we would have that on the agenda for the next meeting, I assume. I'm sorry. I assume
no, I interrupted. I'm sorry, Dave.
I just assume that the schedule allows for that, Christian. The overall schedule for moving ahead through the remainder of the year. This would be compatible with that.
May would otherwise be a very quiet meeting,
right?
Because I mean, the applications last year started in August, so you still have a few months before you can begin the next part in the second year in earnest. So this is a time for rethinking things if needed.
Right. Okay, Tom, you were saying, I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so we have this list, and so the suggestion is that we should add to this, and if you could send your thoughts and elaborate on that, that would be great. We can flesh out the agenda for the next meeting.
And so included in the the applications were one thing, and then our scoring sheet was even another thing.
Scoring sheet, right?
So
yeah, I'm going to make that. Yeah, I'm going to make that its own thing.
Yeah,
because that was a very distinct part of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, any further thoughts on this right now? Christian, thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any old business? No, okay. Well, if that's all that is on the top of our list for tonight, it sounds like we're at the end of our discussion. The next meeting is May 25. I assume that's at the City Hall at 5:30.
Yes, I can actually double check that right now. Because of it might there might be, I know Ways and Means has been using that room a lot. So let me look.
Christian,
Oh, yeah.
the group is always welcome to use either of the two community rooms that we have if you run short on meeting space. I don't have, obviously, the tie-in to GSET on that for recording the meetings. But if they needed to set up a camera, they could do that. But we have two well-sized rooms that could take the committee, in Elm Terrace could probably take 40 to 50. Oak Court could probably take 30 on top of the committee.
And so it looks like we're actually okay for next time. I did book the room and no one else has requested to book it since. So I think everyone's planning around us right now. So
Okay.
We're good to go.
Yeah, that's just for
Right.
future reference if you need another place.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Great.
Anything else? Okay, so do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
And Susan, all in favor? Say aye.
Bye.
Any opposed? Good. Thanks for the opportunity to speak a lot tonight.
Thanks, Dave. You did great.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, folks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.